Been here before. This is a little bit different look. You've never seen it before. Um, Not sure what's going on. We had a little product update, I think, overnight. So a little different look today, but welcome. Glad that you're here. If we've never met, my name is Jeff Echols. I am a senior advisor and the head of marketing at Shadow Partners. And today I am joined by Brent Wadas. He is the CEO of BotBuilt. And Brent, before we went live, we were talking about some conversations that you had yesterday around the idea of robots in construction, which obviously is our theme here today, but also labor shortage. So, what does it mean when we're talking robots in construction and labor shortage? I know a lot of people are worried about, you know, two things. First of all, Terminator, but second of all, am I going to lose my job to a robot?
Yeah, I think that's a fair and valid, thing to kind of hover around. And there's a very real sense of what I will call fear, right, in the workforce. But the discussions I've been having with a lot of America's largest builders and developers, especially the last couple of days, I'm out here in beautiful sunny Florida. It's about 95 degrees and about 204% humidity. They've really been focused on just the labor that they don't have. So we have this huge push, especially on the government side of the house, trying to build these greener homes, moving towards the zero-ready house. I met with DOE executives yesterday. A lot of great things happening towards building better, right? I'm in a home in Florida right now in a home office set up before I go to my next set of meetings where I'm feeling cool and comfortable because it's well insulated, because the walls are built properly. But when you have a labor shortage, the actual people that are building the world's homes, they cannot get all of the niceties that we would like to have in these homes done at the demand level that we have. And so there's still a huge housing shortage. And when you have a labor shortage, it just exacerbates that problem. So at our company, BotBuilt, and with what a few others are doing right now, is really trying to just give the humans that are building our homes better tools to do so. As far as the Terminator fears go, Barrett, my co-founder and CTO, he's been working with robots since he was just a tot, right? And he's just amazing. And he's done some incredible stuff at NASA and his work at Duke, and he did his PhD was just incredible. I worked in special operations. My daughters still think he's cooler than me because they got to shake a robot's hand that he built, right? Like he's that dude.
It's fair.
But when I asked him, like, when will these robots come and take our jobs? And he showed me this thing they were working on at his Duke lab once. And it was like the robot had to learn how to go into a room, figure out what the milk was, and then pour the glass of milk. And he just goes, when it does that, I'll call you. Until then, I think you're going to be okay, because they still have to be very programmed. Well, now we've made huge strides, but what I think most people are afraid of is it taking our jobs. They really need to start thinking, well, what jobs can we give them that humans aren't really doing anymore? Right. One of those things is building homes. Frankly, we've got 5.5 to 6 million laborers that we're currently short on. And if you're wanting to, fuse some gap when about half of those workers are over 50 and nearing retirement within the next decade, and by that I mean like within the next 7 years, by 2030, that's a dangerous and precarious place for American builders to really find themselves. For our perspective, we just want to make it so that those developers can still build at a clip that Americans can live in a nice, comfortable home. And to do that, we build wall panels and other robotics systems that we've designed to build parts of the home so that you can just assemble it much faster on the job site. The second part of that, quite frankly, is quite the opposite of the Terminator problem, right? Now, yes, my robots can kill you because they're 2,500 pounds of steel, so don't get in between them and their goal. But with the proper safety, you're going to be safe. But what they're really doing is saving lives. According to OSHA stats, this is the weirdest thing to me. When I was in the Army, right, in the height of the war of Afghanistan, that's kind of my war, it was about 35 service members a year, uniform-wearing members of the armed services that were dying every year in battle in Afghanistan. That's a lot. That's too many. Any blood we spill is horrible. And I've buried friends, that's rough. But 350 people a year are dying building homes in America. And so for me, I'm well insured. Like I raise my right hand, and if I go, well, my wife can marry someone more attractive, and my daughters will have, someone else's dad. And that's what I signed up for. I went to battle. Like I wanted this. When you sign up to build a house, you want a job with a paycheck so you can put food on your family's table. You didn't sign up for dying, and yet you're 10 times more likely to do so. So for us, the idea of bringing robotics into construction is just about giving folks that are willing to build the future a better life, and the ability to do so safely, and the ability to do so without just literally getting in the danger zone for you and I just to have four walls and a roof. It's a big deal.
That's an amazing stat. I've never heard that before. I mean, that's not exactly my realm, but that is 10x.
Yes,
Um,
I mean, I don't recommend doom scrolling much, but if you ever want to go on the OSHA website, it's eye opening what
sure.
people who do the trades put up with every day, just so that we can have a comfortable, good life.
Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned building wall panels and other things. So we're talking about a controlled environment,
Hmm.
building in a factory, essentially. Is there a time, or do you see an application where the robots move from the factory to the job site, or is the efficiency and the safety, all these things that you talked about, um, is it best that everything stay in the factory? Because we've been doing panelization and different construction techniques this way for a while, and made great strides in the construction industry with these. Do we keep pushing in that way, or is there some scenario in the future um, where a robot or robots are on a job site? Does that make any sense to head in that direction?
Uh, yes and yes. I mean, I hate to answer a
Okay.
dichotomy with a yes answer, but for me, it's got to be both. It really is and I say all hands on deck a lot. Just we all have to be in
Sure.
this fight together. So this week I got to meet with some leaders over at Mighty Buildings and Diamond Age, and Icon was with me this week, meeting over in the Tampa area and the Fort Myers area. And what was interesting to me is we're all approaching the same problem in different angles. And if we
Mhm.
were all wildly successful, we're barely making a dent. So it really has to be thought out that way. For our perspective, we've been using panels in the construction industry for decades.
Right.
They used to be done kind of poorly. A lot of measurement issues come into play. A lot of human
Mm.
error comes into play, and then the shipping issues come into play. And so now we're just getting to the point where that cost benefit ratio is coming way into better spec. The robotic precision that I'm able to get is much better than a human. The cuts I'm able to get are much better than a human. And
Right.
then the ability to actually ship those panels quickly and effectively and efficiently through smaller factory spaces is big. For us, anyway, we use very small footprint robotics. So we're talking a 30 by 30 cell. And you can just duplicate that line over and over, and you can put that factory anywhere in the U.S. for very cheaply, and then ship it for a couple of minutes each
Mm.
way, and you're off to the races. For what Icon or any other 3D printed home company are doing, what Icon is doing from an artistic standpoint is incredible. What Diamond Age is doing with a tooling standpoint is incredible. What Mighty's doing from a materials standpoint is incredible. But that's not going to build every house in America, and it's also
Right.
a little bit on the pricier side. So we're all just approaching it from a different perspective. We do see a day when our robotic systems are next to the job site, where we're putting out panels that robots are helping to assemble the home next to it, whether that's on a trailer
Interesting.
system or in a tent-based system that we're working on. That's future think right there. For now, just the
Mm.
the ability to control a lot of the factory conditions is huge. You
Sure.
know, the ability for us to just have the lumber in a dry, controlled setting, for us to be able to work with lumber using computer vision, to make sure that we're using the best possible cuts, the best possible lineup, without having to use the best, most expensive materials. We're using the
Mhm.
same stuff you'd find on a job site. It just hasn't been sitting out in the rain. Not a lot of people realize this, but when you build a home, right, your lumber gets shipped there, and the framers will get to it when they get to it. I've seen trusses just rotting on the side of a road in Wilmington. I've seen entire stacks of lumber with mold. It's a real issue when we leave things to the elements. So the factory does have a lot of advantages. However, I feel for larger communities, if I'm building a 5,000 home community somewhere, I would rather have that factory right next to those job sites, because I'd rather not, not just from an environmental impact, but also from a cost impact, be shipping out 5,000 trucks to finish up that job site. So I think there's advantages to both, and I think that really we need to be working on technologies on both angles from that perspective of on-site, off-site, to make sure that we're attacking the problem and giving the humans that build our homes as many advantages as possible to get the jobs done.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. I'm in Indianapolis, and our roads are. Here's a little trivia for you. 465 is our loop interstate here. Opened in the 60s, I believe, before I lived here. And the trivia is, since the day that 465 opened, it has never once not been under construction. That's that's a pretty amazing thing to think about. But I say that because you'll drive around the loop, and at some point you'll find a construction site, and they've essentially built their concrete plant right there, in the clover leaf of some intersection. And so when you're describing having the robot, having the assembly plant essentially right next to the job site. That makes a ton of sense to me, especially if we're talking about a multi-home development. Um, and when you're talking about the trucks, it seems like not only are we talking about labor, efficiency and everything else, but it's also it's some aspect of the supply chain too, isn't it?
Big time, big time. And so
Yeah,
for us to be able to shorten that cycle in general, just
yeah,
it matters. There's certain things that I think get a lot of attention in the building world, but we forget about that which kind of props it all up. And so for me, anyway, there there's these army adages that mean a lot to me because there's stuff we just kind of live by, right? But one of them that I've learned was the soft truth, and the fifth soft truth, which is kind of a weird thing to think about. Soft is special operations forces. So these are the cool kids in the room, right? These are special operators, or they're special operations specialists that have these very honed in skills. But they will tell you that most special operations require non-soft support. And so when I think of robots, everyone's like, "Oh, freaking cool, robots building homes. That's amazing." Like, yeah, well, nothing gets done without logistics. And if you're not thinking through
yeah,
your log plan, you're not thinking through the plan. So for us, shortening that timetable and shortening the necessity of using as many trucks as possible really does cut back on waste, which is what we're huge on. We build to a precision, which means we're not wasting lumber, but I don't want to be wasting diesel fuel all the same, or putting the additional strain as we move to electric trucks on the electrical grid, which already can't handle, the plan for everyone to own a Tesla or a Bolt. Well, good luck, America. You can barely handle my toaster oven and my microwave running at the same time right now. We'll see how it goes. So it's important
yeah,
to us to basically pare down the resources that we're using while we're
yeah,
building homes as well.
yeah, yeah. It makes a lot of sense. It's part of the sustainability aspect of it.
Bingo.
Um, yeah, yeah. So if for those of you out there that want to know more about robots in construction, obviously you can follow Brent. Brent, just take just a minute to tell us a little bit about your company, BotBuilt, and I'm going to drop that URL in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen if you're looking for that, but botbuilt.com. But give us a little bit of um, a recap on what BotBuilt is, what you do, and how you do it.
Yeah, you bet. I appreciate that. Yeah, go to botbuilt.com to learn more. You can fill out some info pages. We'll send you any info you want to learn about. We're always happy to talk with folks about robotics. And basically, the marketing is not a huge department here at BotBuilt. So we build stuff with bots. So we are BotBuilt. We have tools like our stud plate connector that connects the studs to the plates. We try to keep it simple for everyone to understand. What we're really trying to just work on is leveraging that next generation and bleeding edge technology that is starting to become available in robotics. And whether that's AI or the computer vision systems that we use, the software system that can go from plan to panel, we're very enthusiastic about working with leaders in the construction and the con-tech industry in pushing out more and what I will call capital light, but industry heavy robotic systems, so that you don't need to be spending an arm and a leg just to have robots helping as a power tool to build the future of America. So, we personally work with Shadow Venture Partners because we enjoy what they do as far as bringing together a lot of thinkers in the room. We join alliances because we actually want to ally with other people in the construction world. We can talk all day about, oh, have you heard about this company, this company, this company? They're not competition. We don't have a competitive marketplace because none of us can build enough homes to
Right.
make up the gap that exists. And our goal at BotBuilt, quite frankly, is to end homelessness through capitalist supply side economics. So by improving the ability to build homes quickly, quality customs at a mass scale through flexible manufacturing, we're able to actually bring that to the world. And in my opinion, take away not just the housing crisis that we're in, but allow more people to create institutional and sustainable generational wealth through home ownership. And
Yeah.
the only way we're going to do that, unfortunately, because we just don't have the labor source to do it, is through robotic construction means.
Yeah, I love it. This great mission, fantastic, and super cool too. The
It is.
robots in
5-year-old every
construction.
time I go in the office. I mean, I'm obviously old and fat now, but I am a 5-year-old when I go into the office. It is great to see just 2,500-pound beasts cutting lumber. It's
I
beautiful.
love it. I love it. And if you're out there and you say, "Hey, this is a really cool conversation. I want to know more about robotics and construction, or even expand." I mean, Brent mentioned several companies. You may have heard of some of them. Icon is one. I was just in Austin at the end of last year. Went through um, their one of their projects there. That's you said bringing the art, absolutely amazing design
Yeah, they've got a
and
full custom up
execution.
now. It's beautiful. You should go check it
Yeah.
out on the website. It's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
amazing.
We here at Shadow Partners, obviously we have this daily time slot. We don't get here every day, but we try to get here every day. We're building this out for Shadow Shorts, but we're also going to start introducing more conversations like this. And we are planning right now a panel discussion about robotics in construction. So I'm sure Brent is going to be back for that to go for a longer, deeper dive and look at all different angles about robotics, supply chain, labor, everything that has to do with construction here. So we want these conversations, we want this time slot to be the place for you to come and learn more about innovation in the built environment. That's what these conversations are all about. I really appreciate Brent for joining me for this conversation today. Super interesting. And if you want to go even further, at Shadow Partners, we have our annual event. This is the seventh annual Shadow Summit coming up in October in Atlanta, October 25th and 26th. Our opening reception will be the 24th, the evening of the 24th. If you're interested in that, we're building out the Shadow Summit website with the new 2023 information right now. So go to shadowsummit.com. Reach out to me on LinkedIn, which is probably where you're seeing this right now. I'm happy to help you get to Shadow Summit, get involved. We're looking for speakers, we're looking for sponsors, all those things that you do for these types of events. And you can probably go and meet people like Brent and others in our portfolio of companies, as well as investors and limited partners and others in this venture capital ecosystem that is focused on and investing in innovation for the built environment. So reach out, join us for Shadow Summit, join us for more of these conversations, and check out BotBuilt.com. Learn more about what Brent and his team is doing with robots in construction. Super cool. Brent,
Yes.
thanks a lot for this.
I'm excited to be there, and thanks for having me. And I look forward to seeing everyone at Shadow Summit too, and some chicken and waffles in Atlanta. Can't beat it. Let's get it done.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, everybody. See you later.